Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's installment of the Enterprise Mobility Insight Outlook podcast. I'm Gina Daniel Lee, Vice President of Strategic Alliances and Partnerships here at Stratix. Many of our podcasts have been featuring some of our strategic partners, but today we're going to mix it up a bit and have a chat with one of our customers. Our topic is the fast-moving grocery store business, and boy, is it in the forefront of digital transformation in retail. I'm really happy to welcome to the podcast today my guest, Jesse Cayo. Jesse is Mobility Services Manager with Ahold Delhaize, USA's Retail Business Services Group. Hey, Jesse, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's start by just having you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
My background is about 12 or 14 years in the mobile space. Started my career out at PepsiCo. I was there for a number of years, moved to Texas and back with that, and then came back and I worked at Vanguard and VF Corporation, and then ultimately landed at Retail Business Services, all doing mobile device management. So pretty long tenured in this space.
I'd say that is a long history with mobile and in retail for sure. So let's start with, Retail Business Services, or RBS, as we refer to it around here sometimes. Many of us have heard of Ahold Delhaize USA, and then, obviously the family of brands like Food Lion, Stop and Shop, Giant, and the others. But what is RBS and what does it do?
Sure. Retail Business Services is the service arm for all of the companies you just mentioned in Ahold Delhaize USA. The best way to think about it is that the local brands are the car, and we're kind of the engine of that car, right? So we're the services, with the support services that range from IT to store development and pretty much everything in between.
Interesting. So let's talk about the grocery business overall, kind of at a higher level. I know during the pandemic, most of us were ordering groceries online, right? And then picking them up at the curbside, really creating this omnichannel approach. I know I was doing it that way, right, during the pandemic. But what does omnichannel look like now post-pandemic? And how has, buy online, pick up in store, or, BOPIS and delivery really changed the retail experience?
Sure. So my opinion is that the omnichannel has really grown vastly throughout the pandemic. Customers have many, many ways to get their shopping done, right? Some of the work that we've done at RBS lets our local brands be there for the customers no matter how, when, and where they shop. And that's really the definition of omnichannel, right? Meet the customer where they are. As a customer myself, I know how important it is, and especially the convenience piece of that. So the buy online, pick up in store is a very popular way to shop, especially now. And at RBS, we're continuing to work with our local brands on advancing that mobile footprint that'll allow more omnichannel interactions, and then of course expanding that store pickup locations to other stores within the brands that may not have it today. One of the things that we like our brand customers to be able to do is get what they need to get, and how they get it, and get back to what matters the most, right? So we're driving those platforms and technologies, to provide our customers with a first-in-class experience, no matter how they choose to shop.
I love that. And I think, when I think through like post-pandemic, I think customer expectations have really changed, haven't they?
Yeah, they really have. One of the things that everyone expects, like quality products or great service, they're not going anywhere. That's been the case before. It's going to be the case during and after the pandemic and into the future, right? We all expect quality. We all expect great service. That's what it is, no matter if it's grocery or we're out at a restaurant. Doesn't matter, right? So, when we have conveniences like the buy online, pick up in store, our personal shopper apps that we use at our brands like Instacart, our Spectrum, or our brand loyalty applications, they further integrate that customer experience. And those options allow us to meet our customer right where they are. which has been become a huge expectation, especially after the pandemic. Like you mentioned with, picking up our groceries after ordering online or having them delivered to us through things like the Instacart app that we use at some of our brands.
Talk about instant gratification, right? All the
Yeah.
way around. You have a long history in mobile, and mobile devices play a big part in some of these new solutions and new way of buying. What other use cases for mobile are there that are impacting either the customer experience or productivity itself? Maybe, I don't know, self-service or production planning, for example?
Yeah, so a lot of that to me becomes, that convenience piece. So you have a lot of things like the buy online, pick up in store stuff that create those efficiencies, and in that way we can be exactly what you need us to be from a retail perspective for you as a customer. Like I mentioned before, you can get what you need when you need it, how you need it, and still get great service with that.
So let's talk a little bit about adoption and user satisfaction. I mean, how do you go about ensuring that when you roll out a new mobile program? And I know you've been through this a lot, so I'm sure you have a lot of insight here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the number one questions with any new technology, especially in the retail space where our associates are direct end users. Those of us that manage end user devices, we think about our associates as our customers. So, this is always a question that comes up with new technology every single time. And what I always like to say from a work perspective, the adoption is really driven by that job task and a mobile device will be performing. So for example, if I'm changing a price label on the shelf and then I'll print that label must be done by another technology, let's say the printer, right? I got to go over to the printer and getting the updated label printing, input has to come from somewhere. So I got to do it from either a PC or I have to do it from a mobile device. And in the mobile world that we're talking about, if I make that experience exactly like you're used to from a personal perspective, so your personal device, it looks and feels like that instantly gets that adoption, right? That instantly buys that familiarity to our associates or what we refer to as our customers of our services at RBS.
So Jesse, what about metrics? What are some of the things that we should think about measuring in terms of gauging for success?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. It's a pretty tough one, actually. I think user satisfaction, security compliance, and then of course that adoption that we just talked about, right? Those are all great metrics in my book. And as mentioned before, this is kind of how we measure ourselves at RBS as well. Layering in the incident ticket numbers, the amount of time for up and down, and then the platforms, how they play within the environment. That's kind of how we gauge ourselves. Obviously, being in IT, the incident number piece is huge for us from a metrics perspective. So that's how we can engage whether our solutions are solid or there's work to be done. And of course, the adoption, that feedback we get directly from our associates. Hey, I love this, or hey, this is cool, but it could do this. So that's how we also measure ourselves, on the IT side of it for our end users.
I love that. And I'm also thinking about ROI, right? So, when you've rolled out a mobile solution, what does ROI look like for, stamping it successful, right?
Yeah. Yeah. ROI is definitely a large piece of it, right? You have to see some sort of return on the investment you're making. And mobile technology is, it's not expensive, right? It's fairly expensive. So it's a big investment. When we enable our brand associates to get their jobs done, in place, like what I mean by that is in aisle versus having to walk to a back office to go to a computer or some sort of stationary workstation, the trip across the store to that PC instantly builds that return on investment because of productivity. So a lot of times our ROI is more in the ways of efficiency and productivity. So that's how we would measure that return on investment for mobile technology specifically.
Interesting. Do you feel like, Jesse, that grocery has moved from mobile first to mobile only, or even, nice to have to must have?
Yeah, it's a really really fun topic for me. It's a very interesting thought to think about a mobile only. I think the world in general is still very much mobile first. But in grocery retail, PCs and Macs are still utilized. So mobile is, almost required, but it's not the only thing that they're using today. It's not the mobile only piece. It's the mobile first. So they're using it first, right? Being able to utilize mobile for that on the spot assistance is very valuable from both a customer and a business perspective. So the second part of that question, I don't know that there'll ever be a mobile only. I think it could become secondary, but I don't think it'll ever be, the only option where the other technology will go away. And when we mean like PCs and laptops or desktops, whatever those, I don't think those are going to go away. Now, there is something that has piqued my interest as of late that I think will change the game, but it won't just change mobile versus PC. I think it's going to change both, and that's the new products from Apple that are coming out. If you guys have seen it, the new Apple Vision Pro, and how that will play into the environment for us in IT, as well as maybe even your personal lives. So something like that, new technologies along the way, those could become the things that put mobile devices to rest, or PCs to rest, or workstations to rest. So those are interesting things to think about.
Yeah, I agree. Really interesting technology for sure. You have worked in grocery and you've worked in just general retail, right? Are there any unique challenges when implementing and supporting mobile in grocery?
Yeah, I think there is. One of the largest challenges that we have are over the air updating and patching of our devices. Our network bandwidth can be a large challenge for us as the consumer OS life cycles kind of hit every year, right? You're used to Apple updating every year and Samsung updating every year, Google updating every year. Us following that on the business side is very challenging. Getting those patches down are very large. They come a lot more frequent than we're probably ready to deliver them. So staying up to date with the consumer world is a huge challenge for us. Also, kind of maintaining a consistent UI or the user experience of that technology, whether it's PCs or mobile, really can also be challenging as it changes the requirements from update to update or use case to use case. And of course, new security controls or, app launchers or things like that come along the way. So keeping a consistent UI that kind of buys into that adoption we talked about earlier, and also, that user experience that we're so passionate about on the IT side of it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So, as we wrap up, I'd like to ask you to look into your crystal ball for me, okay? And what do you hope is coming next in terms of new technology and innovation? Something that could be leveraged in grocery, like maybe, I don't know, robots, AI, AR.
Yeah, those are all extremely interesting to most of us in IT. One of the like I mentioned earlier, one of the bigger technologies that pique my interests are, that Apple Vision Pro. It's taking the AR technology that they're using on their normal iPhones and iPads, as well as Google's doing the same thing. They're using that AR technology to see things like a display. So my application can say, hey, look at this display sitting over here by this side of the counter versus this side of the counter. So I can instantly figure out where I want that to go, right? So that AR technology, I think, is going to play a huge role in not only the grocery retail, so they can help design store layouts, which are a huge part of the customer experience. But then you factor in a lot of things from the computing side that will play into, like you mentioned, robots. One of our brands, and ADUSA, leverages the robot they call Marty. And Marty is identifying spills or other accidents within the aisle to alert associates to clean them up. However, they're baking in more AI technology and functionality from the augmented reality, where he can actually see empty space on shelves, right? So he can see that, and he can alert people to restock things. So those are, great ways of pushing that needle forward, providing extra technology, getting some robots in there. I don't know that there'll ever be, manufacturing type robots in our retail environment. Distribution, totally different. We have some of our distribution facilities that are using fully automated fulfillment. So we have our fulfillment centers and everything like that running those robots, picking those items and getting them created and sent out to the stores. So I think all that will play a larger role as we continue down the path of AI and AR and robotics and all of those things.
Very interesting. I'll have to keep a lookout for Marty next time I'm in one of your stores. Great context, Jesse. Thank you so much. On our podcast, we like to end with a little bit of fun and some rapid fire questions. Are you game?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So the first one, given the choice of anyone in the world, who would you want as a dinner guest?
I've thought about this for a bit, and it's hard to come up with, but I would say if I were to sit down with anyone, I would probably want to sit down with Steve Jobs. I'm a massive Steve Jobs fan. I'm a huge Apple person. I just think the way he thought about things, the way he kind of saw the future of technology and innovation, and anytime they told him you couldn't do something, the first thing he asked is why. And if they continue to tell him why, he either got rid of you or pushed you to figure it out. So I love that way of thinking. So I'd probably have him over for dinner and pick his brain the entire time.
That's a good one for sure. Is there any business jargon that you'd like to banish from the workplace?
I don't know. I don't use a lot of business jargon. I know a lot of people do. There's probably a lot of acronyms out there. I would say for me, it's the acronyms because, from company to company, industry to industry, some of them are repeated, so you never really know what it really means. So I would say we can get away from acronyms, probably. That would probably be the one I would call, and let's just call it what it is. Give it its real name. Just like I don't want to be called JK. Call me by my name, right?
I love that. That's a great analogy. And finally, what fictional family would you want to be part of?
Oh my goodness. I want to say The Simpsons just because I grew up, in the Simpsons era, but I don't know that I would want Homer Simpson as my dad. Marge Simpson as my mom would probably be pretty cool. So, but I think I'll stick with The Simpsons just for the fun of it.
All right. I love that. That is a fun one. Jesse, it was great having you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you guys having us. And, it's the partnership between Stratix and Retail Business Services is going to continue strong and into the future. And I look forward to it.
We do too. And listeners, if you liked what you heard and would like more information or would like to sign up for future episodes, please visit us at stratixcorp.com/podcast to subscribe. We'd also love it if you would rate and leave a review for any podcasts that you've listened to or suggest any future topics you would like us to explore. I'll look forward to next time. Goodbye.